Watch as Bill Maher melts down after Dr. Phil refuses to join in his cult of Trump derangement syndrome, and it's truly funny to watch. So folks, I'm Vince for Resist the Mainstream. If you enjoy our content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Why should you subscribe? Because that way we can keep bringing you videos like this one. And that said, let's get into it.
You think that you're not going to be political, but you're being political, and I think it's a good place for you to go.
Well,
you know, you can't avoid it anymore. You can't avoid it. And I need allies who are like where you and I are with, yes, both sides. Now, again, I come back to Trump. You got to like be on the page that he's worse than Joe Biden and very different than Joe Biden. Come on, Doc.
Look, it's not politics that determine the outcome of society. It's culture. I don't care about politics. You go back to the beginning, and Democrat and Republicans have been in control about 50-50. They've had the control of the House and Senate while they were in control of the presidency about 50-50. They've had it not in control 50-50. And look where we are. They both come up about the same place. I don't care about that. I care about our culture.
Okay, I'm disappointed that I can't get you to just out and out say that Trump is a completely different animal than the politics on the left and the right that we both agree is very lacking on both sides.
It begs the question.
He is a completely different element and much more dangerous. I mean, we're talking about some sort of unnatural predator that was introduced into this wild, which was it was a jungle in the first place. But this is a different element. Nobody else has ever tried to not concede an election in this country.
Oh, here we go.
Try to overturn an election we all, even the people in his own party, understood was lost.
So what I've always found funny about this episode of Club Random is that Dr. Phil was just very adamant back then. He didn't want to talk about politics, right? His approaches with the culture. But Bill Maher, again, this is like a cult. This is like a purity spiral test. You need to disavow Trump. You need to say he's significantly worse than Biden. And Dr. Phil's just saying, I don't want to talk about politics, Bill. And Bill just keeps going. No. Say Trump is bad. Say Orange Man bad. And when Dr. Phil refuses to do that, as you can see, Bill Maher begins to melt down and go on the same NPC rant we've seen about 1 million times now. So let's keep watching.
Is a Rubicon that we have crossed that makes him completely unique. A unicorn, if a unicorn was a big fat asshole. If I can't have your faith on that, it's very hard for me to understand where you're coming from on any issue.
It's hard for you to understand. Like, we're going to totally discredit Dr. Phil in the eyes of Bill Maher because he just doesn't care to comment on politics at this time. Again, this podcast is a little bit older, but at the time, if Dr. Phil was just like, look, Dr. Phil obviously has some right wing, or I guess these days common sense social sympathies, but I'm not here to talk about the election. But Bill says, if you don't comment on the election and have my specific opinion, how freaking dare you? It's just ridiculous. It's unhinged. We have a crazy old man here trying to defend what is essentially a cult of Trump derangement.
I'm telling you.
Doc, you can't do it.
No, I'm telling you this. That's a cop-out. What difference does it make? A, he's not in power now. B, he's probably not going to be. And C, it doesn't. Let me ask you this. No, wait a minute. Hang on. You've read 1984 how many times?
Once.
You have a good memory.
I mean, it was like college time, but I loved it, and I certainly remember the gist, the Ministry of Truth.
Yeah, and Oceana.
Yes.
The government came in, they said, we're going to tell you what words you can use. We're going to tell you what words you can't use.
Yes.
And if you don't do it right, we're going to unperson you.
I'm all over that.
You remember all that?
I know. And by the way, the Biden administration actually tried to have this year a Ministry of Truth. They almost called it was very close to it. I can't remember the name.
It was close.
It was close, and it was exactly what that is. I agree.
But even beyond.
Okay, so the Biden administration did that according to Bill Maher, but Trump is the authoritarian who's trying to overthrow our democracy. He's the real threat to everything. It's a little contradictory, okay?
That. Let me tell you this.
But you think that's a bigger problem than Donald Trump?
No, I don't.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Because
great.
I don't think politics are the big problem. What I'm telling you is this. That's happening again, but it's not the government doing it. We're doing it to each other. This cancel culture bullshit, we're doing what 1984 had Oceania, the government, doing. We're
Yes.
doing to each other.
I understand. I couldn't agree more.
It's the culture that's the problem here. You're wanting to say, let's pick somebody and throw them against the wall, whether it's Biden or Trump or Bush or whoever. That doesn't matter. It's culture.
You know what? One thing you have to have in a friendship, and I hope we're friends now for a long time, is the ability to air your differences and then just move on. Like this is a microcosm to me of what has to happen in America. You're Dr. Phil. You know, you're legendary for being a guy who like fixes other people's problems, a wise elder, and you are. But I'm just not where you are and never will be on this Trump thing, and you're not where I am, and that's okay. And just like if we were in a marriage, I assume, we now just move on, right? I just know that about you. It doesn't make me dislike you or it come close to hate. And no, it just is like, okay, that's where this guy is. There's no universal judge who tells us which one is right, but we go on, we just go forward knowing that we're not quite there on that.
Let me tell you something about me.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fair enough, Bill Maher. But the thing is that Dr. Phil never said in this whole podcast that he supports Trump. He literally just said, I don't want to talk about politics. I'm not involved in the election stuff. My focus is the culture. And you just keep saying, so you support Donald Trump? So you support Donald Trump? It's kind of insane behavior, actually.
You want to know something about me?
I want to know everything about you.
Okay. And you can go back 26 years because I spent 5 years in the public spotlight on Oprah.
Right.
And then 21 years of my own show. And in that time, I have never spoke ill of someone in the public eye. I don't do it.
So there you have it, right? Dr. Phil just says, I don't want to comment on this type of stuff, but this is the issue, is that if you don't come out outwardly and say, I hate Donald Trump, Orange Man bad, all of this stuff, if you're remotely sympathetic, if you have the nerve to say, maybe he's a little bit right about some things, this Hollywood cult will alienate you, and that's probably exactly the reason why Dr. Phil, since this podcast, seems like he's been a little more open about it, maybe. I mean, he's still trying to do the neutrality thing slightly, but you saw recently he interviewed President Trump after the conviction in the state of New York for perhaps this very reason. You know, you push people like this into a corner, and this is what the Democrats always do, is sometimes people just want to be a little bit independent, right? Look, I'm just going to separate away from the cult, from the politics of all this stuff. I'm not going to do a cringe celebrity endorsement. I'm just not going to speak on it. And then what happens? People start calling you out. They say, why aren't you on our side? Why aren't you campaigning for the Democrats? And people just take it until they can't take it anymore. And then you get characters like Dr. Phil, like Elon Musk, like RFK Jr. even, all people who potentially maybe at one time were sort of sympathetic to the old guard, to the Democrat establishment, whatever you want to say, but they have all had enough, and this is exactly what happened. So that said, folks, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, I have been Vince with Resist the Mainstream. Peace.